Hello, and welcome back to JC's Writing Advice. I am JC Bybee, indie author, YouTuber, author coach, author mentor, and I make videos about the craft of writing. I enjoy teaching, I enjoy helping people learn, I enjoy helping people improve. And so I make these videos to try to help the aspiring writer or the writer that might be stuck. And I realize my microphone's way over there. I need to move it closer. So that intro is probably quiet. Sorry. Anyway, so we've been working through world building videos. And today I wanted to take another approach. I've done one other video kind of like this, where I'm actually going to go through sort of my process on a story. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. So, the story I'm working on is titled Midnight in the City. It is a cyberpunk / cosmic horror. What is cyberpunk? Well, that has become more and more of a genre. Some people might think of the video game Cyberpunk 2077 or the tabletop role-playing game that it was based off of. Some people might think back to sort of the father of cyberpunk, William Gibson and Neuromancer. Cyberpunk is a dystopian setting. Things usually there's governments, but they're not effectual. Corporations run things, and people are just trying to get by however they can. So that's the take that it sort of grounds the story. It's a cyberpunk story. My main character, cybernetically enhanced, and her name, her I call them contractors. Everybody has different names for the people that sort of are off the grid doing dirty jobs just to keep alive. So I refer to them as contractors. So my main character is a contractor, and her name is Midnight. So she has, like I said, cybernetic enhancements. She also has some unique aspects to her. I'm not going to talk about it. I don't want to give it away. So I've already written this twice. My problem is I don't like where I'm going with it currently. I don't like how fast some of the story elements have developed. And so I need to take a fresh approach to it. So we're going to outline. I know. Doom, doom, doom. I am not by nature an outliner. Just so you know. I prefer to just write the ideas, but I want this one to have slightly more structure because it's a story that's only available through Patreon. You can join my Patreon. You can get access to the chapters as I release them. So I have some up available right now. Any of you that have watched Third Person POV have heard me mention this story. We used it on one of our live presentations. So this is going to be the same story, fresh coat of paint, hopefully. So what do I know? So the first arc is what I'm trying to figure out. Part one, the first arc. So I know what needs to happen in the first arc. She gets hired along with another infamous contractor. The two of them get hired to work this job together. And they have time to develop a crew, build a rapport, because their client gives them specific details that they want to do. So part one, I start off establishing, so we have to establish who Midnight is. Now, my previous two drafts, I started off from a non-main POV character. He's an NPC, basically, that we get introduced to Midnight through his perspective. And I think I'm going to change it. I just want to keep it in her POV for now. Still the same scene, just all from her perspective. So I'm gonna, let's see here. That dude's name is Ben Daniels. I'm just gonna write Ben Daniels. Scene from Midnight's perspective. Again, writing it down. I know this might not seem as interesting because I'm just talking about it, but I want you guys to understand that talking things out with a friend who's interested or willing to listen, a family member. I have the joy of being married to a woman who is as avid a reader as I am, and she is willing to listen to me when I talk on and on and on and on endlessly about my books. So I'm trying to give you guys the opportunity to listen to me talk it out with you. Also, I'm going to probably start very tentatively, might start a Twitch stream where I'm actually writing this book. So something to look forward to, maybe. Anyway, so we're going to do the Ben Daniels scene from Midnight's POV. It establishes, that scene's important because it establishes who Midnight is, where she sits sort of in the hierarchy of contractors in this part of the city. And it also establishes that this world is dangerous, because they talk about at the beginning that it's a cyberpunk meets cosmic horror. What's cosmic horror? Cosmic horror is, if you look back here, H.P. Lovecraft, talking about beings beyond human comprehension, outside of our normal perceived reality. Even outside of what we view, even via most religions. They're beings that are so alien to us that they appear evil in their motivations simply because we're incapable of understanding them. And they're often very horrific to look at. So there are monsters in this world. There's not going to be magic in the same way you have magic in something like Shadowrun, for example. There's going to be psychic powers potentially, and there are definitely mutants, but no overt sense of magic or the arcane. Just to kind of give it a little bit of a difference. So the setting, we have, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the setting. The setting is the city. That's all it's known as. It's not got a name, it's not got a location, it's just the city. Theoretically, it occupies what is now kind of, I'm still trying to decide. I like using places around where I live. So theoretically, this occupies the land of Boise, but just way bigger. Way bigger than any current metropolis in the world. And again, because city governments have collapsed, there's no United States. There's just cities and megacorps, and that's it. And the megacorporations run everything, and the cities have, and this is sort of harkening back to my gaming roots. Final Fantasy VII, the original, not the remake, you encounter the mayor of Midgard, which is the first city you start in, who has basically no power. He can't do anything, and so he just sits in his office all day doing nothing because the corporation Shinra runs everything. And without Shinra, there's no power, there's no Midgard. So that's the kind of the idea that I'm running with, that there's a city council and a mayor that they pay for the police to make sure that the city is safe, but realistically it's the megas that control everything. So the city is in 3 primary layers. So you've got the upper city, So, the upper city. And the upper city is for the rich. You've got the city, which is the middle class, or the corpse slaves, as the contractors refer to them. Mega corpse, corpse slave, that's how that comes about. Speaking of the video that came out on today, June 2nd, talking about language in Contractor, or in Midnight in the City, is very important because language has evolved and adapted and changed. So a contractor uses a different kind of language than somebody who actually tries to work for one of the megas and lives in the city. So they have different names for each other. And then you have the lower city, and that's not everyone else. That's the poor or the broken. And then you have the bowels. And the bowels are divided up into their own layers, but that's where a lot of the really terrible things live. Now we're going to write that down. Where the wild things are. I didn't actually write that. See? There you go. Writing it down. So this, structuring the city out like that, lets me know how people are going to act in various parts of the city, what Midnight needs to do when she goes to different parts of the city, how she needs to dress, act, talk, speak, so on and so forth. Because the city is a character in and of itself. The setting is a character because the setting informs so much of what happens. So, in the city, because we have to mention the Bone Man. The Bone Man is one of the nightmares, the horrors. Nobody knows what it is. It eats corpses. And if you're dumb enough to be out at night near corpses, it might eat you too. And again, corpses, I got to switch that up. Talking about language. Dead bodies. I got to use the term dead bodies, or figure out an appropriate synonym. Because a corpse, when Midnight refers to a corpse, she's talking about somebody who works for the megacorps, megacorporations. She's not referring to a dead body. I got to work on that one. I use a lot of gaming terms, so I might try something from that. Anyway, so, and this is what it's like. This is what it's like going through this process. Writing stuff down before you try to write. Normally, I would just sit here and start typing. But, again, like I said, I'm trying to put a new coat of paint on this and make the story progress in a way that is both engaging, because the first version wasn't as engaging as it needed to be, and it was a little too lighthearted. The second version is not as lighthearted, which is good, but it's also going too fast for the story I want to tell. Because again, this isn't going to be a published book. At least I don't currently have any intentions to publish it. It's simply going to be offered through Patreon. And so I need to make sure that I'm writing it in such a way that my patrons, people who sign up, get something out of it, feel like they're getting their money's worth for the stories that I'm telling. So we've talked about part one. Part one establishes who Midnight is. And so we know that she works alone. So she's normally a solo. But she works not, so she's willing to work with others. For a price. So that's one of the things about Midnight. I gotta stop saying so. I say that so much. So much. Sorry. I amuse myself. Anyway, that's one of the things about Midnight. She's very different from my other characters, other MCs. Ace is basically Superman. You've heard me say that. Aurora from the Telvanna Mysteries, she is very much Mom. I mean, that's how I view her. I view her as a mom with a lot of experience. Jessica is just the PI trying to make it by. She doesn't have, like, she prefers to follow the law, but she's willing to bend it a little bit more than Ace is. And Midnight has a code that she follows. It's just very self-centered, for lack of a better word. It's all about survival with her, and she takes just about everything at face value. People-wise, she takes them at face value. If, you know, whatever you appear to be to her is how she's going to treat you unless you prove otherwise. And she's an interesting character to write. So next scene, she gets home. Oh man, I hope that didn't come through. They're doing construction outside. Anyway, that's... Anyway, that's somebody who needs his car confiscated. So at home, we establish she has a place to live. We establish that she has a roommate. And they have an interesting relationship. So her roommate is what's referred to loosely as a gamer. They have various different names and various in various other worlds. Sorry, my brain shut down for a second there. I don't even remember what they're called in Shadowrun. It's been so long since I've played it. But a gamer is somebody who does most of their living on the net. They're good at hacking. They're good at security. Internet security, stuff like that. So we meet her roommate, and we establish that she has a place that she lives, and then next scene is her at work or getting ready for work. She has a normal life, a job outside of being a contractor. She has a second identity. So at work, and I use this scene to establish sort of the less dark side of the world. I use her place of work. I think it's Jim's Tap Room, I believe is what I've called it. Been a little bit since I've worked on this. So in Jim's Tap Room gives us a chance to see the world outside of how contractors view it. We get a few normal interactions with people, and it allows Midnight sort of that time to decompress. So it's a little bit of a slower scene, and I'm gonna have to be sparing with these or use them to advance the plot in some way, which this one does. There's a character that she becomes important later that it gets introduced here. So her work establishes, so it's more world building. And her, quote, relaxation time, where she doesn't have to be, Midnight, the big bad contractor. She can just be her alternate persona. I can't remember what I call her. Anyway. So that is a little bit of an insight into the outlining process. So I sat there and I BS'd at you guys. And here's what I've written. I took my notes. And I got to remember to reference this. That's one of the things about outlining. If you don't reference it, what's the point of outlining? All right. So, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for giving me a listen. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, subscribe, comment, pass it along, invite other people to come watch. If you didn't, go ahead and give it a dislike. That's fine too. Remember, you can find all of my books at jcbybee.com along with my author mentoring services. You can also go to Patreon, where you can support me and help me get a chair that doesn't squeak that bad. And all of those will be linked down below in the description. And with that, I bid you a good day.